Hello, this is Dana Sohm, and today's lesson is introducing you to adjustment layers. Now, to introduce you to adjustment layers, you have to first understand the old way of doing things. An adjustment in Photoshop is something that changes the color of an image, that makes it brighter or darker, changes the saturation. Photoshop calls all these things adjustments. I could make adjustments right on this layer, but if I fouled it up, I wouldn't be able to go back because once the adjustments are made, they're permanent changes to those pixels. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to duplicate this layer, and I'm going to make the adjustments on the copy. This is how we've done it before. We've gone to Adjustments, Brightness Contrast. Let's add a little bit of brightness. And click OK. So what that did is it actually changed all of the pixels on this layer and made them brighter. I can turn off this layer to see the before and the after. Now if I wanted to change the color, I would go to Image, Adjust, Color Balance, and then I could maybe add a little bit of yellow, perhaps a little bit of green, and take away a little bit of the red by going to Cyan and click OK. So all of the pixels on this layer have now been brightened and they've been color adjusted. That's the after. That's the before. By turning its eyeball on and off, I can see the before and the after. So, but I had to make a duplicate just to be sure. There's a better way to do it, and that is to use adjustment layers. I'm going to delete this layer and do the same adjustments but with an adjustment layer. Here I go not to Image Adjust, I go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and then Brightness Contrast. Click OK, and I get a similar dialog box to just add a little brightness. Now notice that it didn't change the pixels. It created a new layer with no pixels on it, no actual pixels on it at all. It's just in a layer with the adjustment. If I want to change the color balance, I go again to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Color Balance, click OK, and I do this same kind of color adjustment I did before. Add a little yellow, take a little red, add a little green. I'm purposefully making it too green here. And now you've got two adjustment layers. If I turn the color balance icon off, you can see the before and the after. And same with the brightness contrast. So adjustment layers are layers. They have eyeballs that can be turned on and off. You can change the opacity of the layer, which basically just tones down the effect of that adjustment. But the best thing of all is you can go back and tweak the adjustment after the fact. So if I want to change the color balance, I can just double click on this little balance indicating color balance, and I can take out a little bit of that too much green that I added. So if I want it to be a little brighter, I can double click on the little sun indicating a brightness. So the advantages of adjustment layers is they don't actually change pixels themselves, they just create a layer of adjustment. They can be turned on and off, and you can change the opacity, which reduces the effect of the adjustment. Now there's a whole bunch of other adjustments that can be made as well. Brightness contrast we've talked about. Levels and curves is a future lesson. Hue saturation we've talked about, color balance we've talked about. But I want to show you that there's another place where you can access adjustment layers. There's a menu across the bottom, actually not a menu, but just icons, on the bottom of the layer panel. The first one on the right is a little garbage can. So if you have a layer and you want to delete it, you can just drag that layer to the garbage can to delete it. So I just deleted my color balance adjustment layer. The next icon over is the new layer icon. If I create it, it just creates a new empty layer. For example, if I wanted to do more retouching. Let's drag that one to the trash. The next icon creates a group. As we discussed in class, if you want to organize lots of layers, create a group and then drag the file, the layers into the group that you want to organize. Let's drag that to the trash. This is the one that is pertinent today. This is to create a new adjustment layer. So if I wanted to recreate my color balance adjustment layer, I click on that, I get a new menu that rises above it, and I get exactly the same adjustment layer as before, but since I trashed the old one, I have to recreate this one. So in other words, there's two ways to get adjustment layers. You can go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, or you can click on this little icon here and then pick the adjustment that you want. And that is the end of today's lesson.